NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months. At SaveWithConrad.com.
Hello, wrestling friends. I'm Matt Kuhn, which means you're listening to Say Yeah to FTR with Dax Harwood. Dax Harwood, how you doing, man?
Oh, you couldn't yell. You couldn't yell today.
Man, my voice is a little trashed because we did WrestleMania week activities, and one of those activities was WrestleCon and the live show, and all I did was talk for like a full week. How did you enjoy the live show, sir?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of great guests, a lot of good friends, and they all had great stories. I thought it was great. I mean, it also, I feel that it showed the range, the range of how hilarious Cash is. Dude, he was the star of the show for sure.
It was the Cash Wheeler show. Cash Wheeler is so funny. Guys, if you want to see the live show, check it out on Fight TV. I think our goal was met. We wanted it to be the most entertaining live show in the history of wrestling podcasting. With all the guests, the way they lined up, it just was perfect. And then Cash was, we're not going to say a couple of things that Cash said, but if you want to see him, they're pretty hilarious. And there's one comment he said about someone being fake that killed me. And that's over on Fight TV. Everybody was great, man. We got to thank everybody, Hobbs and Wardlow and Sean Spears and,
yeah,
and
dude.
Of course, Cash. It was amazing.
Yeah, man. And then, like, speaking of thanking them, Hobbs had some other prior engagements he had to go to, so he had to get out of there. But I didn't expect Cash or Sean Spears or Wardlow to stick around and meet the fans afterwards. I thought it was just going to be me. And so the show got over, and, the VIPs that paid to hang out, which was so much fun, dude. Wardlow and Spears and Cash all wanted to be a part of that. And that to me is the true characteristic of a friend, man, because they could have jetted out of there and they could have went back to their hotel room or gone to get food or whatever, but they stuck around. They stuck around for the fans, but they stuck around for me too, man. And that means a lot to me. But the live event, I told you that I wish we didn't start this podcast until the last day of December. And that's when, in December is when everything was getting announced for WrestleCon.
Right,
we announced this in like the beginning of March, maybe. To have that many people spend their money to come to an event that was added last minute, man, that means a lot to me. And I hope they were entertained, and I hope they enjoyed everything. To see people from, 8-year-old kids all the way up to grandparents there, that was awesome as well. And to have great tequila and sharing it with great friends, a huge memory that I'll never forget. And Cash, like I said, star of the show. He was super entertaining, super hilarious. But yeah, it was good reconnecting with everybody and talking to the fans. And, the best thing about the fans, dude, was they were so respectful of us. They knew that we had to meet every other fan, or we wanted to hang out with every other fan. And they didn't try to monopolize our time, one individual fan.
Right.
They took shots with us, and we talked and we conversed and had fun. And it was a lot of fun, and I look forward to hopefully doing it again.
And there's been some talk that maybe North Carolina area and Thanksgiving something might happen.
Could.
And there's a little fine tuning to do with the VIPs and just making sure that we have the right amount that you can spend the right amount of time with. But it was an awesome show. It was so fun. Cash was hilarious. Like, the first thing I said to him when he got on stage was, hey, so has this brought any heat onto you, this podcast? Like, I haven't talked to you about it. What's it been like? Dax talking all this stuff. And Cash goes, well, first of all, I don't give a fuck. And that was the best way to start the Cash intro. And then we had a Q&A with the fans. And like you said, you did shots with the fans and everybody hung out. Everybody talked. We're going to do it again, hopefully, but it was amazing. But I hate leading off the show with that because that is not the headline story this week, Dax Harwood.
Oh yeah. I some other thing making the headlines.
You are not leaving AEW in the near future, and you won the AEW tag team titles. Let's talk about that. Oh, those fucking guns ran in on our goddamn podcast too.
Oh yeah,
Fuck
yeah, those son of a bitches, and they threw water at us. But hey,
you know, it was a beautiful room, and the guns made it a lot less beautiful. But then later on that week, this past Wednesday, a week ago, as you're listening, everybody, you guys won the AEW Tag Team Championships. Gold around your waist again. It was feeling kind of bare for a while, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but also it was making my back feel a little better because there was a time where we were carrying 3 sets of championships, dude, and it was getting a little heavy. But you know, you've talked about it, and I've talked about it. That Maria has told me that Twitter isn't a real thing. And that reaction that we got Wednesday night coming out, but also when the 3 count happened, is something that I'll carry with me till the day that I'm put in the ground. Well, until the day they burn my body and put me in an urn. There we go. But it was a surreal moment to realize the fans were so invested in the story, so invested in us, and they wanted to see us win so many times. And we'll talk about this later today with our subject, but so many times the fans get invested and it's not their fault. It's the wrestler's fault. The fans get invested in the moves and the athleticism and the spectacle of what the performers are providing. This night, Wednesday night, for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, they were invested in who was going to win and who was going to lose. And that's the beauty, to me, that's the beauty of professional wrestling. So yeah, we're sticking around AEW. And you know, there were a lot of things that I had to weigh out as far as what we're going to do and where we're going to go. Like I've said a million times over and over and over and over again, never, ever, ever did I want any kind of bidding war between WWE and AEW. Never did I want to try to play one side against the other. It was all literally me taking everything for the last 10 years, actually for the last 19 years of my career, compiling it up in my brain and wondering what the best course of action for me is, because I want to make sure my legacy, our legacy is cemented. I want to build on that legacy even more, take care of my family the best way I can. And the best way to take care of my family right now is just to make sure that I'm spending the time with them, that I'm spending all the time that I'm allowed to spend with them. And so there were a lot of factors in it. And Tony Khan and AEW just provided us with the best, I guess, the best schedule, the best. Listen, here's the thing: is today I sent you the text. Today, as we're recording, it was 3 years ago that we mutually got a release from WWE, and I started thinking about everything, and I was texting with Cash, and we were, telling each other we loved each other, and we thanked each other for sticking by each other. Everything that we've earned, everything that we've got for these last 3 years, is because of AEW, because of what we done in AEW. Before AEW, we were in the WWE, and we had there were glimmers of hope for the main roster, like becoming 2-time Raw Tag Team Champions, SmackDown Tag Team Champions, FTR KO.
And you did establish yourself as a viable act.
Right. Yeah. But our legacy was going to be saddled on NXT. The Alphas feud, the Enzo and Cass feud, and obviously the DIY feud. And that's what our legacy was. We weren't building on our legacy. I feel like our legacy had flatlined, in WWE. In AEW, even though there were times, and there are going to be times, and there still are times now where I feel like momentum has been missed, or we don't necessarily agree with the direction or the idea of FTR, what they're doing, still, man, the legacy that we have created, cemented, built on in the last 3 years is because of what Tony Khan could offer us. And he could offer us a schedule. He could offer us a platform that we felt was better for us and that we could trust a little more than what WWE could offer us. I appreciate everyone that reached out to me through other no pun intended endeavors or avenues, yes. Yeah. And were interested in having us back, wanted to have us back, said that they made the mistake of letting us go. But for me, 2023 Cash, 2023 Maria and Finley, the best course of action for us was to stick around here in AEW.
So to be clear, you have re-signed with AEW. Is that something you want to say?
Yes, we have re-signed with AEW. Another misconception, and me and Cash talked about this on I think the Uprocks interview that just came out. Another misconception that we got tagged in so much on social media was FTR found out that Vince is back in charge, and they decided to stay. Right. Or FTR told Tony, give us the belts, or we're going to WWE.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
Yeah, dude. So it's like us and Ultimate Warrior. We're holding the companies up. Right. That's what we do. But if you think that, but because Vince has officially been back in charge since right before WrestleMania, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about how big a hand he has, but he's definitely there. It's definitely not like it was 2 or 3 months ago.
Right. If you think that we put pen to paper as soon as that happened, and Tony made all the adjustments as soon as that happened, man, I don't know if you understand how business or contract works. Right. If you think we went into the building Wednesday night with no contract signed, and we said, we're not going to sign this contract unless you give us these belts, man, you are so short-sighted. I told you on the podcast a month ago, or maybe it was 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, we knew what we wanted to do, and everything was getting fine-tuned, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and all that stuff. But yeah, we knew way before Vince came back in charge what was going to happen. But yes, we have re-signed with AEW.
Well, that's great. And it's great to hear for a couple things. For me as your friend, I was hoping it was AEW, and I'll tell you why. Because last night on A&E television, there was a show on Dusty Rhodes. Did you watch the Dusty Rhodes biography?
I watched about on and off about an hour of it.
Yeah, there's a couple of shots of old Scott Dawson in that. If you look in the background.
Oh, was it?
But
okay, I didn't see that.
But the thing is that Dustin Rhodes and Cody Rhodes had a very different relationship with their dad, based on how busy he was, right?
Right.
And you want the kind of relationship that maybe Cody had with his dad, where he was around a lot. He got to see a lot. And I know how important that is for you. And I don't think you wanted that schedule where 10 years from now, Finley's going to say, oh, yeah, my dad was famous, but I never saw him.
Right. And also, like, it's easy. It's easy for children to hold resentment towards their parents. And I mean, it's easier for them to say, I forgive you, but they don't forget, You
ain't kidding, buddy. Ain't kidding. You met mine. Yeah.
Yeah. I listen, I love my mom and I love my dad. But there were some tumultuous times between both of us. They didn't live together. There were some tumultuous times between both of us. And I would do anything in the world to take care of them and make sure they're okay. But, and I'm sure on their end as well, there are things that, I haven't forgotten, or I won't forget, or they're sitting in the back of my mind. And I don't want, and I'm sure that's going to happen with Finley too, but I don't ever want her to say, you said 10 years, yes, 10 years, but even 2 years from now, I don't want her to say, man, my dad provided for us, but did he really love me? You know what I mean? Or did he really love me enough to give something up to be there for me?
Right.
And I don't ever want her to question that about me. Also for Maria, my wife, she's put up with a lot. We've been married for 10 years, over 10 years now. We've been together for 14 and a half years. And over those 14 and a half years we've been together, when we first started dating, I was in college for 18 credit hours a semester. I was working 3 jobs because my mom and dad had both lost their job and they couldn't pay for anything. They couldn't help me pay for any of the bills. So I had to pay for bills. I had to pay for tuition. I had to pay for books. I had to pay for car, everything. I had to pay for everything. And so her and I didn't really get to spend a lot of time together. That was all the way up until our wedding. Our wedding day, we had our wedding, didn't get a honeymoon because WWE, they hired me right before our wedding and they promised me that I could have a week off for my honeymoon. And I would say 4 days before my wedding, Canyon Seaman calls and he says, "Hey, we're just making sure everything's okay. You're set to come." "Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'm very excited about it." He said, "Okay, so you will start on September the 17th. And I said, "Oh, dude, September 16th is my wedding. And you guys told me I could have the week off." He said, "Oh my God, I forgot to ask for permission for that. I'm so sorry. We can't do a week. Can you come in a day?" And I was like, "Oh, dude." So I talked to my wife and I was like, "Hey, this is what happened. This situation." She said, "I don't care if we don't go on our honeymoon. All I care about is marrying you." So we didn't have a honeymoon. So we got married, went to sleep, woke up the very next morning, drove to Tampa, Florida, unpacked all of our suitcase, our whole house. And the very next day I had to start working for WWE. And so, I had the WWE schedule until 2020 and then roll into AEW. And it's just been nonstop for us. So I also want her to know, like, I don't want her to look back on our 15 or 14 and a half years and say, "Man, he was never really there for me." You know what I mean? I want her to know that I love her more than the life that I breathe. I want her to know that and never have to worry about it or wonder about that. And so putting her and Finley above work, above my legacy, above anything is a factor into what we decided to do.
One more thing before we move on. You talked live on a live mic after winning the titles to the crowd there, after winning the AEW titles, about Tony Khan and about how Tony Khan really is someone who really wants professional wrestling to be good. Like, you want professional wrestling to thrive. He wants it to thrive. You've had your differences, of course, as anybody would with their employer. Talk a little bit about how you're looking forward to working with Tony Khan for a little bit longer.
So yes, he loves wrestling. I said on the mic that aside from me, no one loves wrestling more than Tony Khan. And I mean that. I mean, he absolutely, he does this. I'm sure he does it because he enjoys it. I know he enjoys it, but he does this for the fans, dude. And that's, he loves professional wrestling. He's not afraid of the connotations that come with professional wrestling, or he's not embarrassed of that. And he is, man, he's a great fan. He's great for our business. He's great for the wrestlers. He's great for the fans. But throwing that all to the side, above all of that, a million times above all of that, the human being that he is 20 times better, than the fan or the promoter or the businessman he is. Right. He cares about me. He cares about my family. He cares about the individuals that he pays on a biweekly basis. He cares about them as people. I felt that, this is going to get a headline, I felt that working for Vince, I was just a number, Right. And Vince has talked his minions underneath him into thinking that everyone is replaceable and everyone is just an object. And he places these objects where he wants to. but we're not, man. And maybe in wrestling we are objects, but wrestling is should be just a percentage of what a small percentage of what your life is.
And no one wants to be made to feel like that either. Is the main thing.
And that's kind of how, for better or worse, that's kind of how Vince runs his business. So I was just an object. I was just a number to Vince. And with Tony, I am a human being. I am David Harwood to Tony. And he cares about me. He cares about my feelings. He cares about my family. And that's, working for someone like that obviously is going to make my decision, our decision, much easier than working, when comparing and contrasting it to a person who just has us as a number.
Well, I think that's all there is to say about that. AEW has FTR. FTR are the tag team champions and hopefully will be for a long time. We're going to talk about not just the future of FTR, but the future of the wrestling business, including the Wembly announcement, including some comments by Bret Hart. We haven't recorded in a couple weeks, so I'm looking forward to talking to you all about
Dude,
this.
I'm so rusty.
I know,
man. I feel more rusty doing this than I did in my comeback match.
I didn't even know what to say when we started. I said, "Well, we what are we going to do here?" Yeah, I feel a little rusty as well. But something that we're not rusty on is our tequila of the week, and I know it's early in the morning, so we're not doing a tequila of the week this week. Yes. Is that okay with you? Can we handle that?
That's okay. I had one just in case, and I was going to have a small sip, but we can do this one next week. Totally fine. I would rather it's right now 10:27 in the morning.
Let's not.
I do not want to start my day off by having. I've eaten nothing. I've eaten nothing today, so I don't want my first calories to be tequila. That'd probably make for a good and bad episode.
Yeah, and I think I need another week before some more tequila because at the live show, I believe I was sitting at a table by myself on the stage, and someone put one of those Fortalezas on there.
Yep.
I want to say I drank about $200 worth of tequila just sitting there at the live show. It was great stuff, but I think another week is good. I did want to talking about beverages for our Tequila of the Week segment. We did a coffee of the week. You talked about your beloved what is it? Summit Coffee in Asheville, yes. Which also has other places around the East Coast. But I want to talk to you about Starbucks because you talked a lot about Starbucks on the CM Punk episode. You've talked a lot about Starbucks in previous episodes. Getting to hang out with you, getting to see you for a few days in a row. I saw you at Starbucks. We met each other at Starbucks a couple times, drove you to Starbucks multiple times, yes. And I'm fascinated by your Starbucks order because you come back from Starbucks from the counter with 2 cups and a little tiny cup. Mm-hmm. And I'm very curious as to what that is. Matthew and I had many conversations about that. Tell us the Dax Harwood morning Starbucks routine.
Well, I love visiting. I love visiting local coffee shops, local ones, but sometimes local coffee shops just they can be hit or miss. If it's a day that's not too busy, then their coffee may not be the freshest, right? They may not have brewed it recently. But then there's some days like at Summit, they're busy from open to close. Their pastries are incredible. Their coffee is always fresh. And a great atmosphere. So I went to a coffee shop this week. Where were we at? Where did we make our return? Oh yeah, Long Island. I went to a coffee shop in Rhode Island. Rhode Island. And it was a local coffee shop. Went there. I got a hot coffee and I got a cold brew because I like tasting different ones and seeing how they're. The hot coffee was terrible. It was just disgusting and it was just really, really, really.
Well, that's not what you want out of a coffee shop.
No. So I threw it away and I said, I'll just have I'll have the cold brew. And so I started drinking on the cold brew. And again, dude, it was just bitter, but not like a coffee bitter, like old coffee bitter. And so I threw it away. got my car, drove to Starbucks. Starbucks, the thing with Starbucks and the reason that I enjoy it so much is because it's consistent, right? The taste is always going to be consistent. Their hot coffee, they brew every 15 to 30 minutes, but that's because they're so busy all the time. But also, it's their rule to brew the hot coffee every 15 to 20 minutes. Their cold brew is also always great. Their nitro cold brew is hit or miss, but their cold brew is always great. So, getting to your question, my morning Starbucks order, always black coffee. I like to start off, I usually get 2 black coffees. I start off with their light roast, which is their veranda blend. I get a grande veranda blend. And the little small cup that you saw is a side of oat milk. Because, because if I tell them, because listen, I'm 38 years old, almost 39 years old. My stomach can't handle hot or black coffee, the acidic black coffee like it used to. So the oat milk kind of breaks up the acidity a bit. But if I say I'd like a veranda blend with oat milk in it, they will, more often than not, they'll fill the cup up with oat milk.
Right.
And I don't like that. I like still having the taste of my coffee. So what I do is I have the black coffee. I have the oat milk on the side. I'll drink a few sips of the black coffee because I do want to taste regular coffee. Then I will start to pour a little bit of oat milk in there, stir it up, and that's how I enjoy my hot coffee for the morning. For food wise, I'll get I usually get egg white bites and the red pepper egg white bites and the oatmeal with the blueberries and stuff. That's what I usually have in the morning. And if I'm in a rush or if I'm driving or whatever, I'll get the reduced fat turkey bacon sandwich. It's so good, so delicious. And then, you had to take me, you didn't have to. I asked and you offered to take me back to Starbucks, or me and Dan would walk to Starbucks. And my afternoon coffee is cold brew. Again, side of oat milk, so I can measure my own oat milk, pour it in there with 2 Splenda, and I just stir it up, and that's my go-to in the afternoon. That's how I keep myself fueled through the day.
Yeah, there was a very particular Dax Harwood system, and I was fascinated by it. Now you know it too. You get your oat milk, so they don't. You gotta be, precise with how much oat milk goes in that coffee.
What about you? What's your order?
Man, I just get a venti white mocha.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
It's all it's pretty much just sugar and milk with just a smattering of coffee taste. That's pretty much what it is.
Well, you get the caffeine. That's all that really matters.
That's what I'm talking about. And something else we're talking about these days, Dax Harwood, is, of course, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a great new sponsor. They sent us some great meals. I ate every single one. And what the HelloFresh does is they let you skip trips to the grocery store and count on them to make home cooking easy. They send you these meals and they're great and they're affordable. And that's why, folks, it's America's #1 meal kit. That's right. HelloFresh. They take the hassle out of mealtime this spring by delivering pre-portioned ingredients and easy to prepare recipes right to your door. Skip the checkout lines and get outside in the warmer weather because HelloFresh has dinner covered. No worries if you're not a pro in the kitchen, guys. The recipes are so easy to follow. I do like to cook, but anybody can follow these recipes. Their foolproof recipes arrive pre-portioned and easy to prepare in just a few steps. They're seasonal ingredients, they're fresh ingredients. Everything you need is right there. Dax Harwood, have you enjoyed some of the lovely HelloFresh that we've had delivered to our house? Because I love mine.
I think my favorite was actually a vegan option. It was a spicy sweet potato meal or something like that. Yeah. It was so good. And the cool thing was they come in prepackaged. They're obviously prepackaged meals, but they are small enough. The packaging is small enough that I could put them in my Yeti and take them with me on the road to Dynamite and Rampage. I throw them in the microwave when I get to the hotel room. No, I don't have to pay for Uber Eats or DoorDash or anything like that. I can just throw them in my microwave, warm them up. 2 minutes later, I'm ready to eat. But yeah, dude, it's when there are prepackaged meals, it's always a hit or miss thing, right? And more often than not, it is a miss. but I'll be damned if their chicken wasn't tender. Like I said, the best part about sweet potatoes, dude, is sometimes when you have vegetables like that and they are prepackaged, they can get mushy and feel terrible in your mouth. And speaking of feeling terrible in your mouth, BlueChew later. But the vegetables they had the green beans and the sweet potatoes weren't mushy at all. It just made everything so convenient and so easy. And they have the calories and all the macros right there for you. So if you're counting those, it's easy to keep track.
And it also is not like this meal where you just like stick it in the microwave. It's a meal that you cook. Like everything is there for you.
Right.
You chop up the vegetables, but they've got everything there for you. It doesn't take more than like 20 minutes or a half an hour to do. We love it. Really, really love the HelloFresh. You guys should give it a chance. If you guys are people that order out a lot like I do, or order home delivery systems like I do a lot, it saves a lot of money and it's just as quick. And it's healthier, and it tastes better. And y'all should give it a try and use our coupon code to do it. Just go to HelloFresh.com/FTR50. 50, because you use code FTR50 to get 50% off.
Shit.
I know, right? Plus, it ships, the first box ships free. You might as well just try it. Try it, see if you like it. I loved it. I reordered, and I think you probably will too. Go to HelloFresh.com/FTR50. Use code FTR50 for 50% off, plus your first box ships free. Guys, check it out. It's America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh.com. So, Dax Harwood, we talked a lot about what we're going to talk about this week, and what we came up with was Dax Harwood's State of the Wrestling Business.
Oh,
and
shit.
I know, right? It's a lot. People can be like, that Dax thinks he knows everything. He knows. It's just one wrestler's opinion. Hey, did you watch any? You didn't watch any Mania, I bet, right?
Let's see. I watched the Gunther three-way.
I think it was tremendous. Yeah.
I watched. My God. Oh, I watched the Sammy KO Usos match. And I think, I think that was all.
You know, if you want to watch something interesting, watch the Snoop Dogg Miz Shane segment.
Oh, well, I saw that on Twitter. Yes, I did.
Dude,
I saw that on Twitter.
Amazing. Yeah. Snoop Dogg, a performer is a performer, is he not? Like,
oh yeah,
he had to. He was instructed, but on the fly in front of 80,000 people. I mean, that must, from your perspective, what a stressful situation that can be.
Absolutely, for sure. Especially he's someone who doesn't throw punches every day of his life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And a beautiful people elbow by the man himself, Snoop Dogg. The whole week was interesting, but one other thing, real quick, from what you know, do you have an opinion on whether Cody maybe should have been given the title?
There's a lot of people that have said, let the story play out, and I usually am one of those people.
Right.
But I will say this. SummerSlam 1993, aside from Bret, the hottest new baby face in your territory was Lex Luger. This whole campaign about, going on the Lex Express, slamming Yokozuna.
Astute, yeah.
Yeah. And he won by count out.
Right.
And imagine if people would have said, well, it's SummerSlam, WrestleMania 10's around the corner, let the story play out. What we did, we let the story play out, and letting that story play out, it killed Lex Luger. And then I saw other people, who said that Cody had to overcome more adversity.
He tore his pec.
And thousands of people in the arena saw it. I'm sure hundreds of thousands saw it on the pay-per-view. I don't know. And, I don't know if you can overcome any more adversity than that. And on top of that, if we only want to keep it storyline driven, just show a 1-minute package of his prior WWE career and what he had to overcome there. For God's sake, before he left, the man was stardust, show how he's
Amazing.
overcome, made himself into a main event level star. And then have him come out on top. It's okay for the good guy to win sometimes. And I feel he should have. That's my opinion. I feel he should have won the WWE championship. Was it for both belts or for one of them? I don't know.
Both belts.
Okay. I didn't watch the match. Was it good? Did you watch it?
Oh, it was good. It was good, but him losing kind of deflated everybody. And
Sure.
I was like you. I'm often the let the story play out, and I even tweeted it. I said let the story play out. But then after seeing you guys win, I tweeted, man, I changed my mind. Cody should have won. Because
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because it was just such a beautiful thing. You want to talk about the story of Cody Rhodes? It's the same with your story. He left on his own terms, but what did he do? He wrote that list. I don't know if you remember. He wrote a list.
Yeah.
He framed it immediately as like, here's what I'm going to do. From this, what a story that is. I don't know how they get to a better story, but I just wanted to get your viewpoint on it. Sometimes it's okay if the fans leave happy, right?
Right. It's okay. And like, I'm sure a lot of people were saying, oh, well, it was too, it was
Predictable.
Predictable. There we go. Thank you. It was too predictable. But that's okay, man. Even in matches like that's, and we'll get into this later. I think a lot of the wrestlers think, oh, well, if I do this and the point in the match is too predictable, that's okay, dude, because it's okay for the fans to have a preconceived idea of what is coming next. If you can make them just doubt themselves for 1 second, if you can make them doubt themselves or doubt what's going to happen for 1 second, even if it's 1 second, they're like, oh, if Roman's going for the cover, one, oh my God, he's going to beat two, fuck, kick it. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Cody's
Right.
he's going to win. You had him for that 1 second. Same thing in just a wrestling match. If you set someone up to the top rope, right, for a superplex, I'm just talking out of my ass here. But if you set them up top for a superplex, the fans are, they say, oh, here comes a big superplex. If you have if you have your opponent fight off for a second, you guys create a small scenario where for a second, they're like, oh my God, he's not going. Oh, he's going to. If just tricking them for 1 second, you've got them. You don't have to trick them you don't have to completely switch everything up. Just make them forget for 1 second. Then you got them. And I think that the story that was built up, the people that were behind Cody, the promos that were cut, he should have been at the end of the night, the WWE heavyweight champion.
It's one of those things that just makes sense, I think, and
Sure.
and we're going to talk about making sense as we talk about Dax Harwood's state of the wrestling business. And we're going to start it off with somebody that you actually got to spend some time with. WrestleMania week when you were there for the live show, you got to spend some time with your good friend, and I would say your biggest man crush of your life, Bret Hart.
Maybe rivaling Maria for biggest crush period.
I texted you. I said, "How did the meeting go?" And because I couldn't go because Bret could only meet like almost during Mania, and so Matthew and I were going to Mania, and you were like, "It was beautiful." And then you wrote lovely, and then you said wonderful, and you said inspirational. Like your love of Bret Hart knows no bounds.
Yeah, and I talked about it last week, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago, whatever, about the proverbial quote unquote dick rider that I am, and the people that say that about me. First of all, if you're a dick rider, quote unquote, in the figurative sense, not the literal sense, but in the figurative sense, if you're a dick rider, you're sucking up to someone
for a purpose.
Purpose. You're sucking up to someone who can advance your status somehow, whether it's creatively or monetarily or whatever. Me being a quote unquote Bret Hart dick rider does absolutely zero for me. Nothing. If anything, it probably gets me more shit than anything else. But this man, and from a kid who was 8 years old until a man who's 38 years old, this man, Bret Hart, shaped my life. He really did. And I know it sounds corny as shit, and it probably is, but he really did. He shaped my life. And, the message that he sent in his promos, but also in his matches, like, if you keep fighting for what you believe in, you'll come out on top, right? That's what I always got from Bret, because he made me feel a certain way.
Sure.
And that's going into the state of wrestling address. That's it, man. What we do as performers, God, all these wrestlers, all these wrestlers talk about art. This is my art. This is how I show my art, right? But art, and you've said it before, art is just how you make someone feel. Whether it's a painting, whether it's a novel, whether it's music, or whether it's professional wrestling, is how you make them feel. I felt for Bret. He made me feel for him. He didn't make me feel for the Russian leg sweep. He didn't make me feel for the second rope elbow drop. He didn't make me even feel for the sharpshooter. He made me feel for him. And that's what I want to do to the fans now. And I feel, man, I'm getting emotional, but I'm not going to fucking cry because I'm not going to do it. But I feel Wednesday night was the moment in my wrestling career where these people felt for us. And I said, I did it. I felt successful because I've had great matches, right? Me and Cash have had great matches. I've had great singles matches. And in all of those matches, we have made people feel in the moment. But that moment at the 1, 2, 3, made me feel like I had finally done what I wanted to do because they care about us. And that's what Bret made me do. At a time in my life, I've said it before, and again, this is the corniest shit, but at a time in my life where I felt nobody, not one person in the world that cared about me or loved me, I felt for one reason or another, Bret did care about me. And that kept me afloat, man. And that kept me from going out and I never did drugs. I never drank alcohol. I never even said a cuss word, man. And that was all because I wanted to be like Bret, and I wanted to make him proud. And the way he displayed himself was a white meat, babyface, wholesome guy who fought and stood up for everything that was right, even when standing up for what's right may not be when standing up for what's right may be wrong. He still stood up for what was right, still stood up for what he believed in. And being able to take my hero above, I've talked about it before, the man that I believe to be God and Jesus Christ and all that stuff. Like, obviously that's a whole different idea for hero, but the man who was my hero is my hero throughout my whole life. I got to take him out to lunch with his beautiful, loving, incredible human being of a human being of a wife. There we go. That was again a bucket list thing where I could look back at 10-year-old David and say, hey dude, we did it, man. We fucking did it.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot. We talk about, cause that's big for me too, is looking back at 10-year-old Matt, you looking back at 10-year-old David. Well, Bret Hart is not 10 years old, but he's got some things to say, and I thought it might resonate with you, and I think it's a good subject for the show, and to get your reaction to what he has said recently. He made some recent comments on HNL Live, and are you ready to hear the comments, Dax?
Of course I am.
All right, more than anything.
Anything he says, dude, I'm ready to hear.
He said, the old kind of wrestling is sorely missed by a lot of people. If the old wrestling was around, like my dad's wrestling, we'd come see it. I'm trying to advise my son Dallas and help him deliver the kind of wrestling show that I would enjoy watching, where the wrestlers actually know what a headlock is, rather than doing the scripted ballet and leaping, twirling, and dancing around like a bunch of ballet dancers. I don't really enjoy today's wrestling for those reasons. They've lost a lot of steps towards the reality and credibility of wrestling. Wrestling, in my opinion, needs to pretend to be real. It always has pretended really hard, almost to the point that you believe it is real, because wrestling is so far-fetched today. I'll stop right there. Mm-hmm. What do you think about those comments, Dak?
So I think that, there probably, there's going to be a ton of people that agree with him. I'm obviously one of them. But then a lot of people who think, oh, he's the old man yelling at the clouds, or he's lost touch, or he's just like he hasn't evolved with the times.
Right.
He doesn't mean, when he says that, he doesn't mean he wants the fans to believe for 20 minutes of the match. He doesn't mean I expect the fans to believe when someone has me in a headlock and I shoot them off and they bounce off the ropes and give me a tackle and they hit the ropes and bounce off. He doesn't expect for them to believe all 20 minutes. But just like I told you earlier, he's talking about these fans getting lost for 1 second or for, a few seconds each moment in the match. That's what he's talking about. To believe in the individual, to believe in the match, not believe that every single thing is real, not believe that every flying head scissor is real or every drop kick is real, to get lost in the action, to get lost in the match and to get lost in the storytelling. That's the real part. And that's what he means, it comes to the point where you get so lost in the match with the Guns. I'm not speaking to put myself over or Cash over or anything, but I'm speaking because it's just recently happened and it's me and I can speak from experience. The match that we had with the Guns this past Wednesday, I knew that the internet fans who are used to a certain type of spectacle of a match may not enjoy it, or may not love it.
And finish, a traditional finish.
Yeah. There were no big, huge moves. And that was by design. There were no spectacular off the top flips. Dude, I think if you go back and watch that match, watch that whole show, our match was probably the only match that didn't have a dive or multiple dives or brawling all over the floor.
We're not counting Cash's sunset flip off the top rope, right?
As a dive?
Oh, no, as a flip.
As a flip, yes, okay. No, but, the match was built around drama and the match was built around emotion. If you watch, Matt, and I can send you the link just in case you doubt me. If you watch the last 5 minutes of that match at the end of a show where they've seen everything, literally everything you could see. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
At the last 5 minutes of the match, those people were standing on their feet.
Absolutely.
For the last 5 straight minutes, from the time the referee got pulled out from the shatter machine until after the finish, they were on their feet. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that. And that's what, and the reason that I hate even talking about my recent stuff, but I'll make an exception for this one episode. The reason that me and Cash structured the match that way without basing it around the big moves, is because we wanted to show them, the Guns. We wanted to show the young kids now too, and the wrestlers now too, that in its most beautiful form, wrestling is done with emotion in mind,
right?
With the fans' emotion in mind. How can I make them feel at this moment? Frustration when the referee got pulled out by Colton and he wanted the DQ. So much so, if you go back to listen to it, Matt, these people said bullshit.
Yeah,
bullshit. They were chanting bullshit. When is the last time that you heard that? I'm being honest
about it in. About booking, sure, but about an in-character, in-match moment,
right?
I can't remember the last time.
In recent in recent era, when have you heard the fans chant bullshit to a false finish that wasn't a quote-unquote botch? You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's because they were invested and they stood up the last 5 minutes. And that's what Bret means. He means for them to believe in it, not believe in tackle, drop down, leapfrog, reverse hip toss, kickoff, drop kick, headlock takeover. He doesn't. That's not what he means. He means believe in you, believe in me, believe in what's happening, and get so lost in it you forget for a second. You forget, oh my God, this is a performance. Right. That's what he means. So sorry, off that rant, you can continue if you
Well,
want.
I just want to say that I thought the finish with the two sunset flips, it was like shades of Jack and Jerry Briscoe. Like I thought it was an amazing idea, and that's how you try. It looked like you guys were trying to win the match, and I think that goes to Bret Hart's point. You're talking about, in reaction to Bret, you're talking about believability. But I think he might be talking more about the wrestlers having a mindset of pretending it's real. Like maybe the wrestlers today don't have that mindset.
Yep.
But in your head, you have to say, this is real, as opposed to, this is a sequence of moves we're doing.
Yes. I hate
Two syllables.
the word sequence. 2 syllables.
Is that something that's said a lot? Is sequence?
Yes. Like I'll get this from the fans. And when they say it, I don't hate on them. I hate on the fact that they say this sequence is great and it is a sequence. And I watch it is a sequence. And the fan or hearing wrestlers call the match and I'll do this sequence here or this combo here. I hate that, man. I think I probably shouldn't say hate. Doesn't mean I dislike anybody. I just that it does bother me. It frustrates me.
It goes against what you feel is special about professional wrestling.
Right. And so Bret saying, think about what's real. Like there've been plenty of times, where I have Cash 2 has gotten heat. We've gotten heat for someone who had an idea that didn't seem very logical to us. And we were like, hey, we're never like, oh no, fuck no, we're not doing that. No, that's stupid. Right. It's never that, because I don't think it's stupid, but we'll say, okay, well, how about we do it like this, and we make it where it could be seen as believable. But yes, you're exactly right. The Bret saying that he wants the wrestlers to think real, because so often they skip over a lockup. And I don't mean they forget about a lockup. They don't do a lockup. They just lazily lock up and then go to the spot. Right. They also forget the flippers and the lifters and the punches and the kicks and the crispness of those moves, so people get lost. And so when you hit them with something, because if you hit somebody with a chop, and it happens to me too, but if you hit someone with a chop and they just woo, they're playing along. But if you hit someone with a chop or a fucking lifter that makes connection and makes a sound, and people say, oh fuck, that's
lifter, is that a European uppercut?
Yes, lifter is a European uppercut. And the people are like, oh shit, that's the reaction you want, because you want them to believe again, half a second that strike was real, and that's kind of what he means too. And I think today's wrestlers, going off of all this and what Bret said, I think there are wrestlers that are so insecure in their abilities, even if they're fucking incredible. Because I've seen it. I've seen wrestlers who I think are fucking incredible in the ring, but still they're insecure and they work for the pop, because they know this Canadian destroyer will get a pop because people have popped for it before.
Interesting. You bring that up. I'm going to interrupt you if you don't mind just for a second.
Yep.
And as a co-host of the Dax Harwood show, I do not want to get on a soapbox. If I do, please fire me, get rid of me. But I do want to say, Ring of Honor show Friday, Dante Martin got hurt on a Canadian destroyer, right? But previous to that, they set up, I want to say, 6 tables. And at one point, I think I saw Marie Kanellis and the manager from the other team cooperating to set up these tables together. And it's just one of these things where that's not real. That takes you out a little bit, right? If you're trying to get in the win-lose thing and you're saying, oh, these guys are doing architecture together, for a Canadian destroyer spot, which was incredible. And God, right away you knew something was wrong, but an incredible spot. But I think maybe there should be more effort taken in situations like that if you can't do it in a way that looks like you're trying to win, just don't do it.
So the easy answer to that is, as a wrestler, why? ask yourself why.
Right.
Why are they doing this? Again, I'm only speaking because it's personal experience. I'm not putting myself, Cash, or the New Day, who I'll be talking about right now, over. I'm speaking because it is professional experience. The match that we had, the ladder match we had with New Day at 2019 December, TLC.
TLC,
yes. I knew that I wasn't athletic to have a match like they had at WrestleMania 17. I know I'm not that athletic, but I can have a ladder match like Bret and Shawn had in the first ladder match. That was structured with believability and why are we doing this and what is this for?
And the one with Razor too is
same thing. Exactly. Absolutely. Yep. Same
match.
Thing with Razor. Yep. And so putting that match together, if you watch it, if you go back and watch TLC 2019, the first 5 minutes of the match was spent on each team trying to get the ladder closer to the ring. Where they were spent trying to get the ladder in the ring.
Right.
But we went and got the ladder, then we got stopped. We got the ladder a little closer, got stopped. They got the ladder a little closer, got stopped. Finally, the ladder's in the ring. And then everything was nothing was, I felt, contrived or set up or whatever. But yes, ask yourself as a wrestler, why? Why am I doing this? What is the end game here? And what am I trying to accomplish? If you're trying to accomplish, I just want to get to this 6-table move. That's not right. In my opinion, that's not right.
And you're watching the managers cooperate to do that. There's a great book that I read when I first started my business called Start With Why. And so it says, people don't care what you do. They care about why you do what you do. And that's in business and everything. And of course, professional wrestling. And this goes to Bret Hart's next point, which is it's low hanging fruit, but it's true. He says, when I think of WWE and see 20 wrestlers crowded together outside on the floor and someone dives over the top rope and knocks them all down like bowling pins, I roll my eyes at how pathetic wrestling is today. Almost as pathetic as Goldberg. Okay, he didn't say that.
Okay, just say no way. Oh, God.
Top to bottom, all the top wrestlers and all the middle/bottom wrestlers in WWE and AEW all slapping their leg on every punch and slap. It's the point where I can't watch wrestling today. So now he's talking about kind of micro things, which is things inside of a match. The bowling pins outside the ring, the slapping of the leg, the the cooperation. What do you have on that?
So this is my opinion again. Remember, this is our podcast. It's just an opinion. The thing with the dives, the reason that a dive first, okay, when dives started happening, for example, I'll use Sting and Nikita Koloff against Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Okay, right. This is from Great American Bash 1988, opening match of the card. The match starts ding, 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 and it's a big brawl. Boom, 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 boom. The heels take a powder. Boom. They regroup and they come back in. It goes back to a big brawl. Bam, 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 bam. The trade fist. Boom, 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 boom. The heels take a bump and roll back out. Sting's got so much energy. He's so pissed off and he's so mad. He wants to get to these guys. He runs and he dives over the top rope onto Arn. Boom. And he dives not because of the spectacle of the dive. I mean, it was a spectacle, but he dives not because of the spectacle, not just to say, watch this dive. He dives because he can't control his emotions anymore, and he wants to do whatever he can to get over there and beat the shit out of Arn. That's why you dive. Bret versus, do another in your house, I can't remember the date, but Bret Hart versus Jean-Pierre Lafitte. Jean-Pierre Lafitte had attacked Bret weeks leading up to the match, had stolen Bret's jacket, and Bret was so mad at Jean-Pierre Lafitte. He was so upset about it that the match starts with Bret running and diving on Jean-Pierre Lafitte. Boom. And that's because he cannot wait to get his hands on him. That's the difference in what a dive is meant to do and what it's supposed to be and what it is today. Again, I'm not saying today's dives are wrong. It's just a need to say why. Why am I doing this dive?
Right.
Because
what you see is a bunch of wrestlers are collecting there, and the why is to keep the other wrestlers safe, which is not what you want if you're watching wrestling match for the fiction of it. Of course, you want to keep the wrestler safe, but you don't want to see a collective agreement among people who are trying to win a match, right?
So, okay, I don't mind the dive onto a pile of people. I don't mind that. What I mind is that it happens in so many matches every single week. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just happen every once in a while. If it did just happen every once in a while, like if a wrestler just did it every once in a while, then it's special, you know? But if it happens multiple times a week, every single week, there's nothing special about it. Again, it just becomes a spectacle. And you know, so I don't mind dives. I think they're cool. They are cool as shit. But you know, this I guess it's going to be me critiquing AEW. But watching the show from last week, where we were the main event, I'm pretty sure every match that I watched, almost every match that I watched, had some sort of dive, right. Whether it's from inside the ring, through the ropes, over the top rope, off the top rope. I saw it. So when you see it multiple times, just like, dude, when you see, you know, if you see a 10 punch in every single match where they're mounting the corner, they're
right.
punching 10 times.
Right.
If you see it in every match, it's not special anymore. You know, the same thing with the dives, and the dives are cool and it's a built-in pop. But I challenge wrestlers to think of ways to do it without it, to have their match without a dive. That's the challenge. That's when you got to get creative, because it's easy. It's so easy for a guy to go to the floor and a guy to dive over the top rope. Boom. There, you know, the built-in, holy shit, or AEW. That's so easy. That's easy. I challenge wrestlers, not just in AEW. I'm talking about wrestlers around the world, to think.
Especially those young guys on the indies who are shortening their careers a lot of times with these crazy dives, because they're not as trained as wrestlers who are on the main roster, and they're doing the same kind of stuff and hitting their heads on concrete, you know, especially them, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for sure them, but everybody, man. And I'm not asking anybody to think outside the box. I'm asking you to think within the box. Just think differently inside that box than everybody else. You know, for example, again, I know people are going to say I'm putting myself over, but the match we had with the Guns, the one time we were on the floor, the one time we fought on the floor, right, was a complete change in the match, and it led to the finish. And that one time was whenever Colton pulled the referee out. The referee slid back in the ring, was pissed off, and said the match will continue. Cash jumped to the floor to go get Colton because he was so pissed off. He was so mad that Colton just cost us the one thing that we have tried to get back since since November of 2020, the AEW World Tag Team Championships. He was so mad because we had the match won, and he's like, this motherfucker. He goes to get Colton, grabs him by the hair, and Colton posts him. And then we take the match. We take the action right back in the ring. And that's another thing. Do you want to continue a thought here? Or
sure.
You want me to continue the thought here?
Yeah. What is the thought?
Okay. The thought is everybody fighting on the floor nowadays?
Well, it goes to what you were talking about before about purpose. A lot of fans have heard the term walk and fight, or whatever it's called, when people go outside and they just walk and they fight. But you think about Bret Hart. When Bret Hart went outside the ring, think about his last match in WWE fighting outside the ring. Everything seemed to be done with purpose. It follows the same line with everything else you're saying, right? As long as it's done with purpose, it makes sense.
Yes and no. This is me speaking from with wrestler brain. Okay, as far as fighting on the outside goes. So, what's the first wrestling match you ever went to?
Oh my God, the first wrestling match I ever went to. The main event was, I took the bus. I was 11 years old. And my mom was out of town. My dad didn't care. He didn't even know. So I took a bus to Anaheim to see a C show. Okay. So the main event was adorable Adrian Adonis versus George the Animal Steel. Wow.
Don't tell Finley you did that, because if she tries to sneak out at 11 years old, I'll lock her.
And I think the Funks were there, but it was Dory and Jesse
awesome.
Barr.
Yes.
Yeah. And
awesome. Yep.
And they took on S.D. Jones and Tony Atlas. It wasn't, and of course, Corporal Kirshner versus Nikolai Volkov. That was the first card. Not the best card in the world, I'll tell you that.
but it was your first, right?
Oh my God, it was great.
So I want you to tell me, and I want you to be honest. If you don't remember, that's totally okay, because then I will tell you my first story of a live event. When you paid for your ticket, or if you already had your ticket, whatever, and you went into the arena, right? And then you went from the what is the foyer or the corridor or whatever it is around the arena. You walked through those doors and started walking down the aisle to your seat. Or you walked through the doors and you stepped foot on the aisle or the stairs.
Right.
The first thing you see is that wrestling ring.
Yeah.
That wrestling ring. No one's in it. It's alone. Do you remember the feeling you got when you first saw your first ever wrestling ring?
Man, I had almost the same feeling walking into Mania and looking down at that wrestling ring. It's excitement. It's like your eyes are drawn there and you're like, that's where it happens, right there.
That's the star of the show, the wrestling ring. That is the star of the show, because without that, you don't have a show. Imagine WrestleMania without a ring, you know?
You know that Vince Russo pitched Vince McMahon on a wrestling show without a ring.
I don't doubt that. I did not know that, but I don't doubt it. But that is the star of the show, is the ring. And so, you know, again, I'm speaking about AEW because it's where I work. I watch every match, dude, top to bottom. And if I can't watch it live, I'll go back. But I have Jeff Jones send me a link because I want to see everything. I want to watch everything.
You know what I call Jeff Jones?
What's that?
Friendly Jeff Jones.
Friendly Jeff Jones.
Friendly, happy Jeff Jones.
Yeah, always happy, always sweet. I have seen him mad one time before, and it wasn't fun. But
I will say, every time he sees me now, we give a big hug. But there have been times where Matt and Jeff have not been friendly. But last time I saw him at Merch at AEW a couple years ago, gave me a big hug, took a big picture. Jeff Jones, that's Judge Jeff Jones from ECW, if you don't know, who used to set up tables for Mike Awesome. Yep. Big help there in AEW, right?
Yeah, huge help. Gets a lot of the behind the scenes stuff done that a lot of people don't see or a lot of people don't appreciate. But anyway, so yeah, I'll have Jeff send me the link or I'll watch them live, and I'll watch the dark matches, right? And we have these dark matches. We have contracted talent, and these contracted talent are wrestling these local talent. And even if it's a contracted talent against a contracted talent, they got 6 minutes for these darks or whatever, 6-minute match. And the objective of this match is to get wrestler A over. The objective is for wrestler B is to make wrestler A look good. So instead of wrestler A thinking, okay, what can I do in this match to connect with my audience? He or she thinks, what can we do in 6 minutes to have what we perceive to be a 5-star match? Right. At this point, these matches are for you to introduce who you are and what you do. So later on, when you do have the opportunity to go 15, 20, 25, or 30 minutes, then you can have what you perceive to be a 5-star match, and the people are invested. But I watch these dark matches, and they all are almost the same, man. Like if wrestler B is the enhancement talent, why does wrestler A have to go to the floor to fight wrestler B? Right. Let's just say wrestler A is, oh my God. Can you name a young AEW talent right now?
Okay. How about, let's say if it was Dante Martin.
Okay, great. Dante Martin. Let's say Dante Martin is wrestling a local talent. And he has 6 minutes, and we're going to get Dante Martin over. We want him to look good. We want him to look strong, but we also want him to have a connection with the people. So let's show off his stuff, right? But instead, Dante Martin locks up with this guy, and we have a phenomenal 6-minute wrestling match where they dive to the floor. Dante and him go to the floor and just start brawling on the floor, right? And they shoot each other into the barricades and take a barricade, boom, and they give each other the post on the outside. Bam, the referee has counted 10 like 5 times, or could have counted to 10 5 times, but they're going through all this brawling, and they get back in the ring, and then there's some 1-2-0, 1-2-0s, 1-2-0, 1-2-3, yay, right? Let's just say that's the basis of that 6-minute match,
and a bunch of spectacular moves to set up those 1-2-0s, like one after the other.
Right. Let's say 2 weeks later, as we're trying to build Dante up, Dante Martin has the opportunity to work with Cesaro, a big star. someone AEW has featured, and he does the exact same stuff in the match with Cesaro that he did with local guy who's not there this week, right? Why is it special now?
Right.
Dante is wrestling with Cesaro, who is widely considered one of the best wrestlers in the world, a big star in his own right, and he's having the exact same amount of trouble wrestling Cesaro that he was having with wrestling enhancement talent, Wrestler B, 2 weeks prior. That's where the issue comes in, as far as the dark stuff goes.
But when you talk about staying in the ring, the point was that you shouldn't have to leave the ring to beat somebody like that, right?
Well, in that instance, yes. But even on Dynamite, man, even on Dynamite, when we have 2 or 4 or 6 guys who are either in the process of getting over or are over, why do we have to always, every single match has to leave the ring? And I'm asking again, why? But they do, because it will get a built-in reaction.
Right.
Sending someone to the barricade, built-in reaction. Fighting on the floor, backdrop on the floor, built-in reaction.
In a WWE match, it seems like someone gets sent into that barricade every match.
Yeah. But apron bumps now. Boom, apron bumps are as common as a headlock takeover. And that's where the issue for me is. Make the in-ring stuff the special stuff, because that's what people are there to see, and that's what we are. We're professional wrestlers. Make the in-ring stuff the special stuff, so when you do finish the match with a sunset flip and the people fucking blow the roof off and they're going bananas, they don't, it's not like it's not finishing a sunset flip and they've seen all the brawling through a table, using a chair, posting someone bleeding everywhere. Like, it's making that special and making it mean something. So that's the issues I have with fighting outside of the ring on every single match.
Right. And it sounds like that's the problem with a lot of stuff, is it, from your viewpoint, nothing wrong with it in a vacuum, but happening so often. Please excuse if you hear noise outside. They're doing that construction. I want to continue with the Bret Hart comments, but before I do, I want to address what you're saying earlier about featuring guys on Dark, featuring young guys, making guys look good. When I was watching WWE, we got, one week, we got this new wrestler named Kamala. Kamala would come and destroy a guy. Randy Savage is debuting next week. I remember like it was yesterday. Randy Savage comes and destroys a guy. It's hard to do when a lot of the people that are the quote-unquote extras are people that want a career in wrestling, right? Where they're trying to protect their name or they're trying to protect their image. There's not enough Joel Deatons or people like that, or Rocky Kings or George Souths of the world who will just take a loss and not worry about it, right? Is that one of the issues?
Probably, but also, man, if you're good, if you're talented, the right people are going to notice that, and you will continue to get opportunities, right? But also, as the contracted talent, if you're allowing the local talent to tell you what to do in the match, maybe you shouldn't be contracted, because you have, and I've told many, many, many guys and girls this. This is how I explain it to them. This match, when they've asked me to watch and critique afterwards, I'll tell them, hey, this match was for you, right? Not for him or her. But they kept it 50-50. This match was for you, not for him or her.
Right.
Maybe in the future, maybe 6 months down the road, we bring this guy or this girl back, give him or her an opportunity, and the match is about her or him, and they're wrestling you, and then you have to make sure he or she gets over. But right now, on this day, this match was for you to get your stuff over. And the reason, you talked about Kamala. Kamala came in as the Ugandan giant, didn't lock up with anybody, didn't have spectacular matches. He killed people. So 6 months down the road, he and Hogan can sell out Madison Square Garden. So
Right.
People think, oh my God, this savage beast is going to beat Hulk Hogan for the world belt. That's what these matches are for. It's not for you to please Dave Meltzer or please Brian Alvarez or even just to please me. It's for you to get yourself over and connect with the audience.
Right. And, I say that because I do believe that in a sense that a lot of these people that are in wrestling now want to be big names one day, and so don't want to necessarily get destroyed. But we talk about Kamala. One of the people that Kamala destroyed in his WWE run was Mick Foley. Somebody that I saw, the best pile driver of all time by Paul Orndorff was on a young Shane Douglas. So if you're good enough, you'll be able to come back and make a career for yourself, right?
People, if you're good enough, people will see that. People, the right people will notice footwork, will notice execution. They'll notice your selling, your facials, your body language. Oh my God, yeah, that's the shit they notice. Because here's the thing, man. Two of the most spectacular wrestlers I have seen in my 30 years of fandom, Nick Jackson and Ray Phoenix. And let's do one more just to get away from just AEW. Ricochet as well. Those three guys are three of the most spectacular wrestlers I've ever seen visually, right? If you can't do the shit as good or better than them,
Right.
then why are you doing it? I've seen someone who is a contracted wrestler in our company try to do, I don't even know what it's called, but it's the thing that I forgot what his name was. I don't know, but
Sasuke special.
Yes, there we go. How did you know?
Because I know who you're talking
shit.
about.
Okay. I've seen him do a Sasuke special, barely make it over the top rope. The execution didn't look great. The lead up to it didn't look great, but he did do it. But if you can't do it as good as those three guys that I mentioned, who are seen on a weekly basis on our national television show and WWE's national, why do it, man? Those guys are one of a kind. I wish I could do the stuff they did. That is something that I'm envious of. Not to the point where it's like, oh, fuck them, envious, but it's like, fuck, why couldn't I be blessed with that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I want to see you do a rope walk like Commander.
Not gonna. What a spectacular thing, dude. I saw him.
Was it in Mexico?
No. I saw him. Maybe do it with Vikingo at Ring of Honor.
Yeah, they just did it.
That match. Again, a match that I think that if I could have talked to them before, could have helped a little bit place things in the right position. But two guys who are like awe-inspiring. I can't believe the stuff that they do. So if you can't match Vikingo and Commander, man, why are you doing it?
Well, I think we're all waiting for the Dax rope walk. I think it'd be amazing.
If you see me
use the bottom rope.
If you see me rope walk, it'll be rope walk into barely getting down very slowly, then snap marrying the guy and slap it on a chin lock. That'll be it.
Yeah, because last time you went up top, I think you landed on some chairs. I don't think you want to do that again.
Well, last time I went up top, I landed on the belt and I got this scar right here.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God.
Motherfucking gun knocked me out.
They're not that bad. I mean, they've gotten pretty good. They've gotten better, the guns.
So again, I've already talked about it. I talked with the highest man in charge in AEW, and I've talked to a lot of people patting us on the back. I don't care. They came out of this feud, and you please tell me your honest to God thoughts. They came out of this feud, out of that match, better than they did going in it.
100%. That was 100%. I neglect, I don't want to say too much because I tried to talk to Austin the day after the live show, and he's kind of an asshole, but
yes,
they showed that maybe they're more than Billy's sons, and I think you guys helped a lot with that.
Absolutely. I agree.
So back to Bret's comments. He says about wrestling, and this is what we're really going to get into, is sadly, it's getting too phony. I really question the direction that the people that are in charge are taking wrestling. AEW has gone in a bad direction, so he's isolating AEW with all the violence and gore. Actually, let's separate those two issues. So he says, sadly, it's getting too phony, and he's questioning the direction of it being phony. What do you think about that phony? Because phony doesn't mean fake. Phony means it looks fake.
Yes. Well, I think that ties into the diving thing, and people gathering around, and a dive happens, and then another dive happens, and then multiple dives in the match where they're all just waiting there for it, and then multiple dives throughout the show. I think that's the phony part he's talking about. And I'm sure execution too. I'm sure he's talking about like the execution of a leg drop, or again a lifter or a punch or a kick. That not just in AEW. I see that around the world. The execution is almost an afterthought now. Whipping someone off to the ropes of the turnbuckle, almost the afterthought now. And I think that's what he's talking about. I can't disagree with him, but also to be a little positive too, I see a lot of the guys that I am huge fans of take pride in that stuff.
Right.
Like Sheamus takes pride in execution of moves. I feel that Sheamus doesn't jump over or doesn't lose sight of the execution to get to the next thing. I think he puts everything into his Irish whips. No pun intended, Sheamus. I think that his punches and his kicks and his forearms are always there. Gunther, I feel the same way about him. Cash, my God, I think Cash is the most underrated wrestler on the planet today.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because again, someone who every single lifter he does looks like it takes your head off. Yeah. Every punch he throws looks like it nails you. His moves have all the snap, like his back suplexes, big snap to it. Everything he does has a purpose and has a why.
And he's got a little bit of crazy in his eyes too.
That's because he is a little crazy. So, I mean, God dang, having to put up with me for 10 years will make you that way. Who else do you think has who has stuff that doesn't look phony?
I would definitely say, if you look at, man, it's hard in today's day and age because you mentioned Gunther, you mentioned Sheamus. There's, you guys. I'm gonna.
I'll tell you who else.
Think about this.
I'll tell you who else. Adam Page. I think his.
I would say John Moxley.
The crispness, the snappiness of his stuff. Mox has this. He has this innate ability to make people believe in him, and that's what makes him a big star. He has this ability that like Stone Cold, and I hate to even say that because he's been compared to him so much. And I don't mean to compare him to Stone Cold, but that's just the first thing that came to mind because the people believed in Austin so much that he could do no wrong, and that's how they feel about Mox, I think. Go ahead, please.
I was going to say anybody in that Blackpool Combat Club,
Yep.
Daniel Bryan's shit looks incredible.
Yep.
Zack Sabre Jr., who wrestles in Japan.
I'm a big fan of his. Yep.
Looks incredible.
Claudio, obviously Jay White, brand new signing here.
Absolutely.
Huge fan of Jay White. I look forward to working with Jay, and I hope we get the opportunity to.
Your buddy Chad Gable.
Oh yes,
his stuff just looks fantastic too.
Yep, and believable because he's been in a real combat sport before, and he had the opportunity to learn from me. So fuck him. Yeah, man. There's just while I agree with Bret's sentiments that the things that he named does make it look phony, and there are a lot of guys who are phony. There are a lot of guys today, I think, that are the opposite of phony and are believable and do take pride in the work, in the execution of moves. And it's a lot of the people that I'm, just real fans of watching.
In a real fight, Chad Gable or Cash?
Oh my God. Well, I've told Gable this a million times, usually as a joke. We talk about fighting each other, and of course I say I would kick his ass. I would beat your ass.
If he gets a grip on you, it might be a wrap, buddy.
Well, I always tell Gable, I'm like, well, look, if we get in a fight, there ain't a referee to stop anything, and there aren't points. But if I stick my fucking thumb in your eye, I'll pull that motherfucker out. Then what are you gonna do? You gonna suplex me then? So, Gable's a badass. He is a legit badass. I have seen him mad before. It's not fun. Cash, legit badass, crazy backstory in his life, where he will do whatever he needs to do to survive. And I've seen him go crazy quite a few times. So I don't know. They might just fight till each other dies.
We're a little all over the place here, but I just think that's a funny subject. We're going to talk a little bit more about the phony thing in a second, because I have a couple questions about that. But before we do, there's nothing funny about BlueChew. It's as real as the construction apparently going on to my neighbor's house right now. BlueChew, guys, if you haven't tried it, today's the day. You know, you should give it a shot. If it's something you think you need, like the days where you were always ready to go. Remember those days, guys? Those are great days. Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence and be like it used to at BlueChew.com, which is a unique online service, you know this, that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You've heard these ads before, and today is a great day to try it. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days with no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You've heard all this because it's true. The reason that BlueChew's on all these podcasts is because it works and people know it works. They're made in the USA, and Dax Harwood has told us much more than we ever wanted to hear about his relationship with BlueChew, which he first heard about on one of these podcasts.
Yep, for sure. And I'm so glad I heard about it. And unlike the drilling, the hammering, the screwing that's happening over at your house, that's really expensive. The drilling and screwing and hammering that can happen at your house is absolutely, it's free. It's free. Just pay $5 shipping, right?
That's correct. Using promo code DAX at BlueChew.com. It's free, guys, so it's a great deal for just our listeners. Try BlueChew free when you use promo code DAX at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Promo code DAX to receive your first month free. Give it a shot. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the podcast. Dax, I want to talk a little bit more about this phony thing, because I think there's an argument to be made. I hear other people make the comment that stuff looks phony or stuff looks cooperative. But where do you balance that when you think of things like an Irish whip or a vertical suplex or an atomic drop or a lot of these things that, you know, a backdrop even, that we kind of know watching wrestling that there's cooperation involved? Yeah, well,
again, it's getting people lost in the action, getting them lost in the story that you're trying to tell. So let's take, for example, in WCW, it's widely considered the greatest WCW match of all time, and that's Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio from Halloween Havoc 1997. And obviously, yes, and there obviously is a lot of cooperation in that match, but the difference between that and today is that in between the quote unquote cooperation were the crisp strikes, were the whys. Why are we doing this? But also, on the flip side of that, not every match was doing it. Not every match was trying to be the same. So, for that match, we had those guys doing spectacular, incredible stuff. And then maybe, midway down the card, you would have, for example, midway, you'd have, Chris Benoit and Booker T having a hard-hitting technical style match that there were no holes you could see through and no questioning about it. And at the end of the show, you'd have the main event where the guys would work main event level.
So like Steiners and Outsiders or something.
Right, yeah. Or even like, for example, Goldberg. You'd have Goldberg wrestling Kevin Nash or Goldberg versus DDP. You know what I mean? A real heavyweight style matchup where they did use logic and they did use storytelling, but also it was very physical. And it was completely different than say Ray versus Eddie or Dean Malenko versus Ray. And the reason that the people, it's because they didn't see it every match, every show. It was special to those guys. And that's what that's one of the big things I admire about Bischoff is that he built a roster. He built an incredible roster of cruiserweight talent who went out there and were supposed to go out and steal the show and be a car crash type match where he would put a couple of them a week. And then he also had the wrestlers, like I said, the Booker T's, the Benoits, the Fit Finleys. He had those guys to fill out the meat of the middle of the show. And then he had the big stars like the Stings, the Hogans, obviously Flairs, like we said, Goldbergs and DDPs who could carry that main event style and work completely different than those cruiserweights. And he blended all that together so seamlessly and so perfectly. I thought that's the thing I have the most respect for him. And that's what we're missing today is I feel that sometimes that everyone is trying to wrestle one certain way because they know there is a built-in pop. And that's what wrestlers mean by you're working for the pop.
So I was going to ask about that, but before we do, let me just recap real quick of the things you're saying about what Bret Hart is saying, but also about the wrestling today, is that there's nothing wrong with anything. It's just a lot of stuff's done too much. There's also context, and there should be a why for everything, maybe.
Right.
You know? And then also maybe staying within your area. You know, you talked about Nick Jackson and Ray Phoenix, and maybe everybody shouldn't do that. On that same token, I remember when 205 Live got kicked off, and I remember telling Matthew, I don't think this is going to be successful. And he goes, why? I go, because Kevin Owens does the same stuff. Like, there's nothing special to the cruiserweights anymore. What you're talking about with WCW, their stuff Ray and Eddie were doing that Benoit and Booker T wouldn't do. But it seems like in today's day and age, you got Lance Archer doing flips, you got Brian Cage doing flips. It doesn't seem like there's anything special as far as, you know, different kinds of wrestlers doing different kinds of things.
And look, I'm not saying don't do them. I would never tell Brian Cage to not do, one of his spectacular things. What I'm saying is when you do it, make it count. If the bell rings, ding, and this is not just a Brian Cage or whatever, or Lance Archer, but if the bell rings and we immediately start running, there's no reason for the high spot. We've already lost the people. They like, why are we doing this? And then if you have, let's just take him, for example, Brian Cage, a phenomenal body, an incredible look, something that most wrestlers wish they had, right?
The epitome of an airport look is Brian Cage.
Right. And someone that the fans can just look at and visually believe in, right? Instead of having him built up to what, like Scott Steiner did it great. He did it incredible. He built up to the Frankensteiner, right? If you do spectacular move after spectacular move after spectacular move after spectacular move, none of them are special. But if you build to one, then it's special.
Right.
Then you're special.
Right. It's just like music, you do the same thing over and over again, no matter how spectacular it is, people are going to get bored. That's why the most technical players in the world are not the most popular players in the world. The most popular musicians are the ones that get emotion out of you. Right. And it's the same in wrestling. Bret Hart goes on to say, I really question the direction that the people that are in charge are taking wrestling. AEW has gone in a bad direction with all the violence and gore. I watched an episode, Dr. Martha Hart doing her big press conference. I'm watching AEW, and John Moxley is sticking a fork in somebody's head for 5 minutes with a close-up. This isn't wrestling. I would recommend turning all that off and not watching because it's not very good. Wrestling is going in bad directions because people don't know what wrestling is or was.
So I understand what he's saying, and I get what he's saying, and obviously it's Bret Hart, and he can have that's the thing. Like, he can have any opinion on professional wrestling that he wants because he's earned that, right?
He's earned it.
He has absolutely earned it, and what he believes and what he says is more often than not right. Is sticking a fork in someone's head my type of wrestling? Absolutely not. But it's someone's type of wrestling. And this is coming from Bret, who's saying that. And I'm not downing him at all. But also, this is this, Bret's dad had Abdullah the Butcher come into his territory
all the time.
And so that's some things we got. That was his gimmick. And that's kind of what Mox is transformed into. Do I agree that wrestling needs to bleed every single week? No, not necessarily. But I do believe, there is a market for that. And you can't say that Mox hasn't distinguished himself, like we just talked about, from the tropes, the wrestling tropes that everyone else does to get that built-in pop. At least he has separated himself and made himself this gimmick that is completely different than what anyone else is offering.
We're going to talk about the state of the wrestling business as far as the business goes. I'm curious about something. Of course, you stated earlier you re-signed with AEW, but with the changes that have happened recently with Vince taking over and now the sale of WWE to becoming more of a corporate entity with maybe some cuts and maybe some priced pay-per-views and all kinds of things. Have you noticed a difference in the way talent maybe are talking about AEW and maybe appreciating it a little bit more than maybe they were a few months ago?
Well, most of them don't talk to me. So, they're I shouldn't say that. A lot of them don't talk to me, and that's okay. I understand.
But I guess what I'm saying is that, for a while, it was like, man, AEW is this second option we can go to. And then Hunter took over, and you were like, ooh, WWE might be cool now, too. And now Vince, and now the sale. Do you think it makes WWE less attractive to a wrestler and AEW more attractive to a wrestler?
I just hope, I don't know, but I hope, and I was talking to, oh my gosh, who was it?
You're about to drop a huge name right now.
No. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was, it might've been Bret. It might've been Jericho. It was someone I was talking to. And I was saying that these wrestlers in AEW, I hope they realize how good they have it. And I hope they have the whole time, even when Hunter was in charge, because you got a man in Tony Khan who's taking care of you. He's paying for your hotels. That don't happen over there. He's paying for transportation. That don't happen over there.
And that's huge. Like that's like a bonus on your salary in a lot of ways.
Yep. And you're getting this opportunity to whatever you think is your art, you're getting your opportunity to display that art. Whereas over there, you're going to play by their rules. You're going to have to play within their confines of what they consider professional wrestling. Plus, if you get pissed off in AEW about your TV time, when you have no equity really built up yet, if you have equity built up and you have match after match after match in your catalog to say, hey, look, this is what I've done. Or if you have these statistics for your ratings or your merch numbers and say, hey, look, this is what I have to offer to you. Why am I not being featured? That's different. But when you don't have any equity built up, you have no matches to show. And I mean, like, not what is considered quote unquote great matches. That was a great match. I'm talking about masterpieces. I'm talking about classics, a
legacy.
Yes. If you don't have that, if you don't have these merch numbers, if you don't hold up in the ratings, then you have no equity build up. And if you're mad about your TV time, then go over there, dude, and get 6 minutes to have your entrance, your match, and the after match beauty shot of holding the rope or holding the raising your hand to the cameras and walking to the back, all in 6 minutes.
Maybe you get a scripted promo too.
Right. No, probably not. Probably not. You might get 2 minutes for a scripted promo, but not the 6 minutes for the match. Then come back and complain. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I'm sure the thought of Vince is probably making AEW more attractive to the AEW wrestlers. But I hope they know how good they have it. And instead of complaining about it online, I'm sure there's going to come to a shock to a lot of the Twitter people who want to talk shit about me. But I dare you to go find a place where I've actually complained. Plus, me and Cash have a pretty good catalog of matches in the last few years to be able to back up our claims. If you want to complain, then, dude, you're really very, very short-sighted, because this place is pretty damn good.
They should make a program to send people over to WWE for like 6 weeks just to see how it is when they come back.
3 weeks. Give them 3 weeks.
But you're not with WWE. You're with AEW, and AEW has a stadium to fill. AEW announced All-In. Some people are a little confused about the fact that All Out might be a week or two later, but All-In is going to be at Wembley Stadium in England. We know of course, it's got a great history with wrestling, and it's a huge stadium. First of all, what were your thoughts when you heard you're going to go to the place that had that match?
I was like I'm doing right now. I was like a little kid in school, dude. It blew my mind that we were going to run a stadium show. This company that is barely 4 years old, right? Barely 4 years old, has done so good, has done so well in the world of professional wrestling, that they are advancing and they're taking another step into becoming a viable alternative to WWE,
a true force, yeah,
a true viable alternative to WWE by going and running Wembley Stadium. And to hear that they had over 25,000 signups already just for tickets that go on sale in May, that is incredible, dude.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting to see. Man, a lot of debate taking place already about what they can sell and what success looks like. What are your thoughts about, and you've seen a lot of it over the last week, the AEW hater? The people that say, oh, well, it's a failure. Oh, if they don't sell this, it's a failure. They're just looking for shit to say as opposed to just like maybe just don't watch it,
Yeah, I think that it's, again, just like the wrestlers do. I think that these guys and girls who live on Twitter and live for that is just for that built-in pop. That's the only reason they say it, because they know they're going to get a reaction, and they're usually successful. Even with me, dude. Sometimes I like proving people wrong and letting them know that they're freaking idiots. Sorry.
Yeah, you're like, fuck off, I have a family.
Right, yeah. Or I like showing them that whatever they say is not right or not the truth.
Right.
And that's all they're doing. They're going to watch the show. If they're over there in the UK, they're going to buy the tickets too. But it's just a built-in reaction, a built-in pop for these internet or Twitter, I guess trolls is the cool word to use now. It's just a built-in reaction for them, and they know they'll get a reaction, so they say stuff like that. I think it's a success that AEW is successful enough to just run Wembley.
Yeah, just booking the stadium.
Right. The idea of them running is mind-blowing.
So it's a tall task to fill that stadium. AEW's biggest core audience is in the United States. The stadium is in the UK. But there is opportunity there to fill that stadium. So I'm not sure how much of the show you want to fantasy book, but maybe talk a little bit about the matches that you think might fill the stadium, in particular FTR. You retweeted an idea I had, and I always hate that because people have said, "Oh, Dax is tweeting from Matt's account again." But literally, I'm sitting around on Sunday. I'm sick. I'm just on Twitter, and someone asked on the Not Gonna Lie app. They said, "Hey, what would you do with FTR with Dax?" And I said, "Or what would you do with FTR?" And I would said, "Well, I'd have them face the Bucks with a huge run up for All-In, and then have the winner of that match, probably you guys, face Mox and Danielson at All-In." What are your thoughts about what FTR should do at All-In and other matches you think might do well to fill that stadium?
Well, first of all, I want to say that, yes, after I retweeted it, of course, there are some people that gave me shit. And then Cash retweeted it and said, let this be the official petition. Right. And people were sucking up to him. He said that the guy's everything I did. And he's the good guy. I don't get it, man.
I think you need more. You need more videos of squirrels, to get you over.
So, man.
The funniest thing about you and Cash in public, Matthew and I dropped you off at the hotel. Then we went to park for about half an hour. And then we walked in the lobby, and Matthew looks at me and he goes, "Those poor guys." And I'm like, "Who?" And I looked, and you guys were taking pictures. Oh, the funny thing, because the fans in the lobby, guys, if you're fans, go to the signing. I'm just saying. But it's unfair because Cash can move around like the Shadow. Like, no one knows what he looks like. He can move in and out about by himself. But if you're there, you look like a human emoji, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's Dax." Cash can blend in, and you can't, and that's hilarious.
He always says that he looks just like a typical white guy. And so it's just easy for him to get around. For me, I got this shitty face, shitty mustache, old ass bald head, wrinkles that everybody knows about. And Cash is just a good looking human being. And, it's gotten a lot harder for him now because of the mullet.
But he wears a hoodie usually.
But he wears the hoodie, yes.
Yeah.
But still, man, yeah, it's crazy, and it's also crazy that people say he's the good guy when
we all know. We all know the truth.
We all know
the truth will come out eventually. So booking this, booking this all in, maybe for yourself and just in particular, how to get people interested in this show to get the amount of people that are needed to fill the stadium.
So I've said it before. I think that if we want to get 40,000, 50,000 tickets, it's the match we want to put on, the match that everyone wants to see, as far as an AEW goes. And I think it's, CM Punk and FTR versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Wow.
That's what I think. Wow. And then I feel that the following week at All Out, separate those matches. That's me fantasy booking in my dream. I've been on board to have match 3 with the Young Bucks for forever. I think right now is the perfect opportunity to have those 3 matches I just named, the 6-man and the 2 individual matches, because of the changes that are going on with the WWE. We have the opportunity coming off of WrestleMania to build AEW and show people how good AEW is. And Tully always said it, that whenever business, if they were trying to get a boost in business back in Crockett days, or when he was with his dad at Southeastern, they would always put the best versus the best. He told me a story about I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was Wahoo, and it was Dusty wanted the match to be Wahoo. Oh yes, Dusty wanted it to be Wahoo and Tully in an angle, and he wanted Flair to work with someone else. And Tully said, "Look, hey, I think those are great, but I think that if you're trying to boost your business, right now is the best opportunity to put the best versus the best." He said, "If I were you, I would put Flair and Wahoo together, let them beat the crap out of each other, because they hit very hard, they were very physical, and let me work with you. And so I, as the heel, can put you over." And that's what they did. And I feel that's what AEW needs to do right now, is put the best versus the best. I'm not even saying the best wrestler. I'm saying the best matchups against each other. And I think capitalizing off of
controversy.
Controversy and what this 6-man could be. That's what I feel. And then also, if you did the 6-man in the UK, right? And then you did the 2 individual matches in the United States the next week, no market feels cheated. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my opinion.
So I guess I could delete this if you don't want to answer it, but you took pictures, or Cash took pictures of you guys hanging out with CM Punk in LA. Yeah. And
it doesn't matter who took the pictures. I get the heat for it, not Cash.
Oh, it's all your fault. It's absolutely, because you have the mustache. So it's completely your fault. And you work for AEW, and you're mentioning CM Punk. Mm-hmm. Do you have any reason to believe that it's a possibility that CM Punk is going to come back to AEW, and that this match is a possibility? Or is this like you just getting in trouble again and mentioning his name when you shouldn't?
The latter. I would
imagine.
I will say this. The reason I'm fantasy booking that is because outside of Roman Reigns, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, outside of Roman Reigns and maybe this is not including like Brock Lesnar, that's
right,
or Logan Paul or whatever. But outside of Roman Reigns and maybe Cody Rhodes, the biggest name in professional wrestling right now is CM Punk.
Sure.
Right? Definitely the biggest name in AEW. And so if we want to take AEW to the next level, if we're here to work for AEW, if we're here to make professional wrestling better because of AEW, the way you do that is you take the biggest star that you have and one of the biggest stars in the world, and you put him on the card and you make money with him. Also, on top of saying that, I talk to Punk almost every day, and Punk misses wrestling. That's your headline. Punk misses wrestling, and Punk wants to come back, and he wants to give back to the fans. And he wants to give back to wrestling. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, there you go, guys. We've talked about a bunch of subjects. And before we go, I wanted to ask you about your match of the week. Do you have a match of the week this week?
Yep. And it goes off of everything we talked about today. It goes off of Bret and what he believes and what he said and the things that I've agreed with and the things that I also had a devil's advocate kind of thing for, but it's in your house. I don't remember the exact date, but December of 1995, Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. I like this match better than the Wembley match, if I'm being honest. I think it's a tale of two stories being told in that match. The physicality in it is incredible. The execution, all the things Bret talks about is all there in this match. The storytelling, the believability, the execution, the selling, everything is in this match. And the people feel for Bret. They feel for him. And then whenever Bret goes into the deeper set of heat, the heat starts whenever Bret has Bulldog after he's made his comeback. Bret goes to superplex Bulldog off the top, but Bulldog blocks it. Bulldog picks him up from the top rope and crotches Bret on the top rope. Boom, Bret falls to the outside, gets ran into the stairs and gets the color. Bret gives everything that Bulldog gave him tenfold back. Bret takes Bulldog on the outside where Bulldog's trying to suplex Bret on the floor. Bret blocks him, picks him up. Bret crotches him on the barricade, a steel barricade. Boom. Bret clotheslines him, and then Bret kicks his ass after that, and they go into a few false finishes that aren't huge moves. It's just scenarios that people believe in. People get lost in it. Then Bret wins with a Mahistra cradle. I think it's beautiful. I think it's incredible. Storytelling at its best, physicality, execution, all the things that you want in a wrestling match are there for that one.
Well, we want to thank all you guys for listening to this State of the Wrestling Business and State of FTR. I have one more question I want to close out with because, honestly, earlier I couldn't remember it. But I want to thank everybody for joining us on our live show, especially all of our guests, especially all the fans. One guest we did not mention, and I'm glad you agreed to let him on the stage as someone who's a little bit of a friend of mine. Sean Ross Sapp also was someone who got – did you happen to see – Sean Ross Sapp come in the ring and take his mask off in a match that was on Twitter the other day?
I did not. He was wrestling?
Yeah, he did a run-in. He has training in wrestling, and
I did not know that either.
He ran in on Shazza McKenzie. It's the best clip you've ever seen because he takes his mask off to absolutely no reaction. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Well, dude, that's the opposite of the reaction he got at our live show because they booed him out of the building. So,
well, they should.
Yes, right.
But I want to ask you this question. Like I said, I was trying to think of it earlier, and I just awkwardly threw to the match of the week. So to close out, I want to talk about something you and I talked about. We were in the hotel room, and we were drinking tequila before the show, just hanging out and fellowshipping and, of course, talking wrestling. And I brought up a subject about you guys and how committed you guys are in making AEW the best wrestling company in the world.
Yes. I think that, I think that and Cash, I'm going to speak for us too. And because I don't want to get too much unnecessary heat. I think that Cash and I will do anything within the realms of being safe to make AEW successful. I feel, and I've said this from the day that we started, the reason we want AEW to be successful is not just for us, not just for the fans either, not just for Tony, but for the wrestlers. And I think I told you this too, maybe in the hotel room, for the wrestlers 10 years down the road,
absolutely
15, 20 years down the road, so they can have a viable place to make a living. Because if it's monopolized by one place, then obviously it limits the amount of people who can make a living, but also it limits the amount of money that you can make, because you don't have two territories to go to that you can say, well, this guy's offering me this, but this guy's offering me this, but this guy's offering me a less schedule. Well, this guy's offering me more, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have the opportunity to pick and choose where you want to go. And that hasn't happened since WCW. And now with Tony Khan and AEW, it has happened. And it's not just a flash in the pan. They've been successful for almost 4 years now, holding great ratings. I mean, you think about Raw, and Raw draws 1.5 or 1.8 or whatever, but also that is a rating. And that's a brand that has been there since January of 1993. Monday night has become wrestling night. So people have associated that with wrestling. And so they tune in just because that's what they've done for years and years and years and years. SmackDown's been on the air since 1999, and it's on a station of Fox, which is multiple times bigger than any kind of cable television
in every household,
in every single household all around the world. And, and then you've got this company, AEW, who started from the ground up on television. Matt, do you understand that? Like,
it's so different.
They didn't have what territories were, where territories before they got TV or whatever, they traveled around and had word of mouth, and they'd pay for, a TV spot here and the syndicated spot here, and then maybe go here and finally reach out to here. They didn't have all that to learn. They had to learn on the job. Everybody learned on the job. And that's what they're still doing now. So, Cash and I will diligently work as hard as we possibly can, again, within the realms of being safe, to make sure AEW is a viable alternative to WWE. We'll do whatever we can to make it continue to make it a rival to WWE, not because we have any kind of ill feelings towards WWE or any sort of insecurities because of WWE. It's
right. You're not angry at them or anything.
No, it's because we love wrestling so much. And this is our way, our catalog of matches too, but this is our way of giving back. And we will do whatever, work with whoever, as long as it's financially, as long as it increases the financial ability of AEW and the marketability of AEW too.
Well, there you go, guys. FTR, AEW, FTR with Dax. Great live show, great episode. We will see you next week on FTR with Dax Harwood.
Wait till dogs come around. They're old school ways and they tore it down. Waiting